Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're excited to get started today, but before we do so, we'll give about 60 seconds, wait for more people to join us, and then we'll go ahead and get into things. While we're waiting, a little bit of housekeeping. We will be recording the session, so what that does not mean is that you should just run for the hills now, but we will share the recording after. We will also be having a live chat if you want to toss in any Q&A along the way. We will have a Q&A session at the end. If we don't get to any of your questions, we will also be answering those questions after our session. And then from there, we can share answers to those questions. So we'll give it another 30, 60 seconds and go ahead and get started from there. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming today. For those of you I haven't met, my name is John Witt. I'm co-founder and CEO of Stotles, and Stotles is the revenue engine to run your public sector business. I should start by saying, welcome to Stotles Summer Release 2026. It's something we're super excited about, and our customers have been giving us feedback, advice, market knowledge for the last, 5 years. But particularly this year, we wanted to make sure that we brought those feedback points, market knowledge to life through our summer release to push the frontier for you. So why are we doing this? Well, I think you may already have noticed this, but I'm not British by background, but I've been in the UK for about 10 years, and never have I seen in the UK so many forces that are changing and impacting the businesses that are working with government. So this business to government market is changing faster than ever, and if you're a business working with government, 3 specific things are very true right now all at once. First, government needs are changing and evolving faster than ever. Second, the rules continue to evolve. And third, annoyingly, I have to say it, everyone's talking about it, AI is completely resetting the expectations on how work is done by you and your customers. I want to start on that government needs side of things first. We've never seen the evolving needs of government faster. That goes from risks and challenges across defense, cybersecurity, immigration, and obviously AI. We have a new prime minister, and also there are new opportunities bigger and better than we've ever seen before. Even just last week, I came across a story about how the New York subway transit system adopted Transport for London's contactless payment system and got rid of the payment cards that they were using, the Metro cards that had been using for decades. It's a great story about how technology built in one government can be transplanted to other governments to create more efficiencies and actually be a method of licensing technology to reduce debt ceilings and deficit caps. Second one, the rules continue to evolve. So you've all heard about the Procurement Act of 2023, went into effect in 2025. It is still taking flight, and its implications are only just landing. So the most recent implication is around spend data. That's now a mandated requirement that's taken into effect where public bodies have to disclose specific payment transactions over £30,000. Those are made against public contracts governed by this new regime. So there's now more data available than ever. There's the spend data. There are the pipeline notices that come out. There's transparency notices, performance notices. Are you a business that's leveraging that or not? And then last but not least, as we all know and love or hate, AI. It's resetting expectations on how this work gets done by you and your customers. And quite honestly, what's previously considered fast or thorough a year ago just doesn't count anymore. So you may have heard some of the stories about AI tools being used to read bids that are prepared by suppliers who have written those bids with AI. Now, this may not be systematic, but it is emblematic of how the tides are changing. How buyers buy, what buyers buy, how suppliers sell, how suppliers work. It's all starting to happen differently. And in fact, in our most recent supplier survey, I think the number was around 97% of bid teams use AI in their bid workflows for editing, drafting, summarizing, and even doing compliance checks. So what we're seeing is that AI adoption on buy side and sell side is very broad, but still extremely shallow. So how can you be the type of business that's building and using AI the right way in this market? So if you sell into government, you're navigating all three of these shifts at the same time, usually with tools or data or maybe some business processes that were built to handle one of those shifts or maybe none of those shifts. And it's exciting, it's daunting. It might be motivating or challenging all at the same time, but that's why we put the summer release together this year, is to give you a transparent view into how we're building the next frontier of doing business with government. We're ingesting all this change for you. We're taking all this feedback that's given to us by our users and our customers and partners so that we can do our best job possible with rampant research and development to build tools, data, business processes that help businesses like you serving the UK public sector stay on the leading edge of where the market is and where the market's going, so you don't have to navigate it all by yourself. So that's why we're holding this today. We've been building for this moment, and so we're excited to share this with you because ultimately we build for you. And so today, unlike a lot of our webinars where we talk about market analysis or sales tactics, today we're talking about the products, the tools, the data, the features that we believe that can help take you to the next generation of doing business with government. And so I truly hope that you walk away with, at a minimum, one net new tactic, one net new idea, one net new tool that maybe you can take away to solve one problem better and faster than you do it today. And so to kick things off, we're going to start with our MCP. This is our newest feature that helps you work with the AI agents that you're already using, like Copilot, Claude, ChatGPT, or even internal systems that you might already have. So with that, we'll go ahead and dive into the first demo that we have on our MCP, and this can help people accomplish tasks across the journey from building a strategy, creating pipeline, tracking tenders, or winning bids.
Hi, everybody. I'm Karsten, one of the co-founders and chief product officer here at Stotles.
And I'm Hannah, one of the customer success managers here at Stotles.
And we're here to introduce to you our new MCP connector. So at Stotles, we obviously want all of our customers to get as much value from our platform and service as possible. And for us, that has always meant playing nice with all of the other things that are in our customers' world, how they expect to work, where they expect to work, and the tools they use to kind of get all of that done. That's why we have already built our native integrations, like our CRM integration, messaging tools like Slack and Teams, storage integrations for things like G Drive and SharePoint, as well as having our API offering as well, so that customers can build custom dashboards, integrate our data with their pipelines, etc. Alongside that, the world is continuing to evolve. Our customers, along with ourselves and the entire industry, is using AI more and more. Particularly, a huge amount of people's workflows are happening within chatbots. And that's something that we are leaning into, we're going to be embracing, and that is why we have built the MCP connector. An MCP connector, for those who may not be familiar, is a way very similar like to an API where an LLM can communicate directly with another platform or system. So examples outside of our space are, if you want to check flight availability, there may be an MCP connector to Kayak or another travel aggregator site. There's also a bunch of CRM connectors so that you can check, when is the last time I had a call or emailed with this person, and the LLM can go and get that information directly from that tool and use it. So we have built an MCP connector to enable our customers to be able to access our cleaned, enriched, unified data set and use that to help LLMs in the different workflows, questions, et cetera, that they are trying to get done. So we're excited to get this into our users' hands, and I'll hand it over to Hannah, who's going to talk a bit more about the customer success perspective.
Thanks, Karsten. So from the CS side, what we noticed was, just to echo what Karsten just said about people working very differently now, what we found was a lot of our customers were, first of all, asking us if we could connect to their AI tool. But more than that, we noticed that there was quite high volume of them maybe downloading really useful information that they're trying to use, such as upcoming contract expiries or buyer information, and essentially uploading that into their AI tool to start interrogating the data in that way. So maybe asking Claude to tell them the 3 most relevant expiries within that data set that they should then start acting on. So because of that, like Karsten said, that's exactly why we've built the MCP. Super excited for customers to start using it. I think there's going to be a number of different benefits, but I think what Karsten just said there about being able to use the AI tool with Stotles plus other data sets as well, is really just going to help our users get to the best information. So as a specific example, if I'm an account manager and I want to use Stotles to put together a really detailed account plan, I'll be able to ask my AI tool to search Stotles procurement data, but as well as that, my CRM data and maybe my meeting notes or any other tools like that AI account executives are using. So yeah, super exciting.
Awesome. So that's the MCP connector with Stotles. That's why we built it. We're really excited for you to give it a go. But seeing is believing. So we're going to jump into a couple of live use cases so you can see what it can do. Okay, we're going to jump in and start to make use of some chatbots using the Stotles MCP connector. So the first use case that I'm going to start on is actually a very simple one, something that probably a lot of you have experienced before. Somebody's heard about a tender that's going on, but nobody's actually laid eyes on it yet. What I'm going to do to get us started is I'm just going to say, hey, Claude, can you find it? So this is where we internally at Stotles have Claude integrated with our Slack, which is why we're able to do this workflow here in Slack. But behind the scenes, this is Claude, the LLM chatbot, using the MCP connector in order to find, to search through the Stotles procurement data to provide a response. And so we'll come back to that once it's had a minute to think and see what it's found. That's quite a simple use case, really just something that'll help shave minutes and hours of searching off of your team's week. But I now want to get into a use case that's maybe a little more exciting, a little bit more proactive as opposed to reactive when it comes to engaging with tenders. So that was an example related to air quality analysis. Let's kind of keep along that theme. Let's say I'm a company that provides air quality analysis and sensors and whatnot. I may want to I'm going to type this out. So basically, I want to find early buying signals at local councils, an organization or type of organization that does have air quality very much within its mandate to improve their air quality. We provide air quality sensors. We want to have conversations with organizations that have a genuine need for what it is that we are providing, and we want to speak with them early in the process, and in order to build that relationship and be as proactive as possible in the process. So while this is kind of thinking through things, I'm going to pop back to Slack and see where we are. You can see after it's taken a look, it says, yes, it has found this tender. So I'm going to click in here, and here you can see provision for air quality modeling, Leicester City Council, open, closing in 6 days. Looks like that's the one. Fantastic. So that's just a really quick way where we can outsource some of that more menial searching in order to get what we want done. Let's come back. And you can see here, the LLM is doing a thinking process using those Stotles tools under the surfaces. So it's searching for notices. It's searching through buyer documents. The LLM works really well with our MCP because we provide many different data points and many different angles of looking at the data. And LLMs are very good at being flexible in terms of taking in these different types of data and producing a very kind of cohesive viewpoint based on that information. So, you hear the term garbage in, garbage out. Obviously, the reverse is true. Excellent data, clean, unified, enriched market data in. Cleaner, more accurate, more comprehensive recommendations come out. So here we can see that in terms of live opportunities, there's not as much. However, we do have a lot of strong pre-procurement signals. For example, Knowsley Council, their air quality, something, I'm not as super familiar, is have identified areas of concern and reviewing diffusion tube replacement. So they're actively thinking about how they can improve their air quality and the kind of hardware that they use to do that. And if I click through here, I see I'm going to be brought into the Stotles data point that was used to inform that, an air annual status report for air quality in 2025. And here we have a kind of a summary that's specifically oriented towards my organization. We'll actually talk more about documents in a bit, but this is very quickly dropping you into where that information came from. And I can search through this for where the air quality is being discussed. I mean, it's the whole report, so it's going to be all over the place, but I hope that gives quite a good viewpoint there. And I can just continue to work with the LLM and go left, go right, whatever direction is most useful for me in order to get to the output that is most helpful for what I'm trying to do today. So we won't have time to go through all of this, but I could, for example, continue here and say, I have a meeting coming up with Knowsley Council, double click there and give me briefing. And it's just going to take all of the information it's already found, continue searching, and produce something that I can take with me to that meeting. So I hope that gives you a couple of flavors of what the MCP can do along with your chatbots. But we are really excited to see what else you use it for and how you can make the most of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, Karsten. We're super excited about the MCP. You know, we've really only just scratched the surface of what's possible there. So we'd love your feedback, ideas, and stress testing. The wait list, as we talked about, is now live. I think we'll put the link in the chat here. Perfect. And with that, I think we can wrap up and move into our buyer intent documents. So what are buyer intent documents? Well, these are one of the most novel and forward-looking ways that we're seeing our customers get ahead of procurements, to build relationships with buyers, to shape problem solution statements, and to actually engage around meaningful problems that buyers have. So these are things like meeting minutes, strategy documents, budgets, annual reports. And you'll see very soon here how we're actually taking these and turning them into a real live, actionable opportunities for customers and users. And the reason these are important is because as opposed to just waiting for the tender to come out, you can actually start to build a plan and build pipeline before those tenders come out, which generally improves outcomes in the market. So with that, I'll pass it over to my co-founder and our chief product officer once again, Karsten, who will present on our buyer intent documents. Over to you, Karp.
So for a long time now, we at Stotles have been building tools to help go-to-market public sector teams do something that's easy to say, but hard to do. Be proactive in order to engage before the tender is released, in order to allow teams to build that relationship, understand where their time is best spent, and put themselves in the best possible position for when that tender is released. Not avoiding being on the back foot and being reactive to cold tenders. And a key way that teams can do this is by using the signals, the little breadcrumbs that public sector organizations leave behind in many of the documents that they publish in other areas of their operations. Annual reports, financial filings, meeting minutes, FOI releases, PR and communication releases, et cetera, et cetera. And for a while now, we have collected a lot of those documents and we've made them very searchable and available to our users. Recently, we've just made a big leap forwards in two dimensions of how we help users use this information. First of all, we have massively improved the coverage and the completeness of our data set. So we have gone broader to more and more public sector organizations, and we've gone deeper through more and more different document types in order to ensure that in a single search, you can cover the entire UK public sector market when you're looking for those buying signals and you're trying to make the most of this information. The second dimension is how that information is actually surfaced. Just because we have a mountain of data doesn't necessarily mean it's useful to our customers, to you. So we have spent a lot of time embedding a lot of AI into the searching of these buyer documents that makes it much, much more simple, automatic, and straightforward for folks to just ask for what it is that they're looking for and to receive those results back very, very kind of natively and intuitively. Alongside kind of the more question and answer approach, we also have introduced the automatic extraction of buyer signals. So without you actually even having to ask, we know based on your profile, based on your signal settings, what buy signals to look for within those buyer documents. And so we're going to automatically surface them for you so that you can really just review that list and make use of the most potent ones. So I'm going to run you through a couple of examples to show you what I mean, but we're very excited to have this new breadth and depth of data and to have the latest and greatest tools to allow you to surface the most exciting buy signals for your organization. Okay, we're going to jump into the Stotles platform now, and I'll quickly show you a couple of things that we can do with our new buyer documents and buyer documents features. So I'll navigate to the documents in the nav bar. Here we get our initial search. So amongst the more than 500,000 documents that we have, I want to kind of find that needle in a haystack. Where are those signals that are going to most indicate to me that I should engage, try to start a conversation? In this case, I'm going to be a salesperson approaching local government from a cybersecurity consultancy or cybersecurity provider. And the hook that the thesis that I'm going to go in with is finding organizations who are considering how to minimize their kind of exposure to cyber attacks, or potentially they have been affected and they're trying to harden their kind of own position as it pertains to cybersecurity. So I'm just going to search for cyber attack here. I'm going to focus in on meeting minutes and accounts, but you can see that there's a host of other categories that I could dive into, from strategy, budget, FOI, etc. And I'm going to focus in on local government because that's the patch that I'm most interested in. And we get 575 documents that have an indication that kind of cyber attack is a topic within it. Let's pop in. Here we can see Broadland Council. This is a meeting minute agenda, it looks like. And so I can, scroll through and read this, but there's probably a better use of my time. So I'm going to rely on, first, personalized summary. So this is not just a generic summary of the document, but it's using my profile in order to tailor the summary to the things that are most likely to be interesting to me. So I can already see here a cyber attack is listed as strategic risk, has implemented an SIEM tool. They have penetration tests that are conducted annually, it looks like. So it's very much tailoring that summary to the things that I care about. And I can very quickly just click into those citations in order to be dropped directly to where that information was sourced from. So that's the summary. But maybe even more interesting is the buying signals. So again, it's using my profile and what I care about in order to pull out those signals that are most likely to be what I would consider an indication that this organization has a need for what it is that I provide. So again, here we can see that they have listed cyber attack risk as a very high risk, and all part of their cyber assessment framework. Again, I'll jump to the source here. And here we can see here is talking about that cyber assessment framework, the details amongst that, and the kind of risk posture that they have there. So if that's interesting to me, I can create that lead, and very quickly I have this lead in my full kind of organized list of leads that I can coordinate with my team and go and start to make inroads to Broadland's district council, and make the most of that signal that I found.
Ooh, spicy. I love it. Thanks, Car. With those, that's one of our most widely adopted new features that we just rolled out. We've had document data for quite a while, but now, as you're seeing, using that data and actually matching it with fit-for-purpose AI can lead to really great outcomes where you are able to just move as opposed to do research. But it does beg the next question of, once you've found one of those opportunities in, let's say, meeting minutes, who do you go talk to? How do you engage? And how do you actually go build a relationship around that potential opportunity? So it's a great segue over into our decision maker contacts, the next generation. We already have decision maker contacts, but we actually are taking it to the next level with greater coverage and actually faster utilization on those decision maker contacts. So Manuel from our team will tell you all about these new features and functionalities on these contacts, and then join you back from there.
Hello, I'm Manuel. I'm an engineer manager here at Stotles. Let me walk you through something that we have been working with the team. We know that finding a tender, an opportunity, is only the first step. Then you need to find decision makers, budget allocators, on top of the buyers for those opportunities. That's why we have been working on contacts. We revamped the experience of finding contacts. If you want a phone number, email address, LinkedIn is going to be easier than ever. We increased the capabilities of our filters. Now you can search for job function, seniorities, job titles, you name it. And also the exhaustiveness of the contacts. We moved from 250,000 to over 3.5 million. So now you can find decision makers on almost any buyer. And finally, the experience is going to be snappier than ever. We changed the search engine under the hood, so you will find it really fast. And finally, something that most of you will find interesting is that now you don't have to search for those contacts. We will recommend them. So whenever you create a lead from a tender, we will recommend suggested contacts based on the context of the tender or details that we have under the hood. So any contact that we find interesting for you, we will recommend it. But enough speaking, let me walk you through that on a demo that we have prepared. So this is the new contacts page here at Stotles. What we can see here is the table. You will see that the information that we show on the table is the contact's name, job title, the buyer. So this is synced with the buyer profiles we have inside the platform as well. And the most important piece is the phone number and emails. You will notice that some of these contacts are hidden. To make it available, you need to click on this eye and it will trigger up for you. And then you will see the values. So let's move into the left side of the screen. Here is what I'm most proud of, and is the search functionality that we built into the platform. Right now, I got Chief Officer and Management as filters, but you can select others as well. Then you can also select job function. For example, I'm going to select IT and digital. And especially this one, we heard some of our customers asking for this, and we heard. So now you can look for multiple job titles at the same time. So for example, I'm looking for IT manager, and maybe I want to look for CROs as well. And you will see the filters feels super fast, and it will apply it on the table directly. You also got more filters, like for example, I only want contacts that have both email and phone numbers. And the filters that we have across the platform, you can select a direct buyer, a buyer list, or buyer type, and we will filter the table for you. So how can we act on these contacts that we already have here? Let's start creating a lead from an opportunity. Here at Stotles, you can have different notices, and we can create a lead from here. So I'm going to create one, and then I will go back into the contacts, and I will start attaching these contacts into a particular opportunity. So I will go ahead and attach it. If we go back here, we will see at the bottom of the screen the contacts that we attached. In this case, Stephen Scott. And this is one of the most interesting pieces that we add into the product, which is the suggested contacts. We will recommend contacts for you, so you don't have to look out for them. This is based on the buyers, but also on different contexts or why this contact can be relatable to the notice you created the lead from. So then you can select one and attach it into the lead. So yeah, thank you very much for coming. And this was contacts.
Awesome. Thanks, Manuel, for that. Again, if you wanted to schedule a comparison, we can show you where our new contact data coverage is now, where it was, and compared to the rest of the market. And I'll show you kind of the depth and coverage that we've been pushing toward. And also during that comparison, we can talk you through how you might utilize those recommended contacts. With that, I'm going to transition to our next feature that we're going to be talking about, which is bid qualification. And this is a great example of moving down that journey as a customer of Stotles when you're trying to access government. Is you might have built some pipeline using decision maker contacts and the buyer intent documents, but let's say that then an opportunity has come to life. The tender's out. You need to make that bid, no bid decision quickly, but also thoroughly. And that's where all these features and functionalities start to come together using the data from your enterprise, the data from Stotles Market into our AI-powered tools to help you qualify that better, faster, and more efficiently. So with that, over to you, Phil, the mastermind behind our bid qualification. Looking forward to seeing what you got.
Hi, I'm Phil. I head up the product design team at Stotles. Most recently, been working on our qualification tools for the Bid Studio product. We decided to spend quite a lot of time in that space because it's really where we identified there was quite a discrepancy between what the top teams that we'd kind of been engaging with and working with were spending time on versus what teams we found was kind of struggling with their bidding cycles and kind of process were almost not spending time with. So one of the things we really spotted was making an impartial decision early on, kind of the moment that tender goes live. There's that time crunch feeling. You have to get into the process, building the plan. But actually the top teams were almost taking that pause moment and walking very methodically through a qualification process to make an impartial bid no bid decision to really avoid spending. It's high energy. Like the moment that you decide that you're going after a bid, you're going to be pulling in different team members, you're putting together an implementation plan, even just drafting the document and getting all of those responses and gathering all of the information is something you don't want to be doing if there's a high probability that just this bid isn't going to be worth your time. Some of the things we hear time and time again is like tenders written for a specific supplier. We also hear horror stories of people getting partway through the bid process and suddenly realize, oh, actually, we didn't have the right qualification here, or we didn't have the right legal the right legal threshold and things like that. So yeah, what we've done is taken the best approaches really that we've seen from those teams and used AI to try and automate them. So we've kind of split into these three parts. We have our buyer activity, which is all around helping you research and understand what the buyer's needs are, understanding are there incumbents involved, who they are, how entrenched are they. We then do a requirement summary, which is all around you upload the tender documents, you can go through them, understand what is the buyer really asking for, can help you spot gaps in understanding are there clarification questions you should be asking. And then that is all bundled into an impartial template called the qualification report. And that really is to replicate the process that we saw the best teams going through. They all had these templates. It is a set of criteria that a bid should meet and score against at a certain level. And we kind of bring through your content library, the requirements asked for, and that research that we do on the buyer, all in to help form an opinion impartially as to whether this is a good bid to go after. So yeah, I think now is a great time. We'll take a look at a demo and we can kind of walk through each of those step by step. Okay, so we've landed in the Stotles platform and we're currently looking at our open tender feed. And we're just going to go ahead and look at this first tender notice. So we've got an open tender for a 4-year contract for gutter cleaning. And okay, we think it's good enough for us to go and start making a bid no bid decision on. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and create the bid project. And what we can do from here is right away, Stotles creates a historic buyer activity report. So the main goal of this is to identify, do we match up with the buyer's key kind of pain points? And is there a supplier that's already very entrenched? And this is all based off of gathering all of the past procurement activity that is similar to what we're looking at based on this buyer. And what we can see here is Patterson Safety Anchors Limited has been awarded this contract previously. And they've actually been awarded it twice. So that could be an indicator that they're a strong incumbent that we're going to need to overturn. Now, alongside that, what we can do is also upload all of the tender documents in and generate a summary of the requirements. And just while that's loading, so that's going to process each of the 10 documents. And while that's loading, I'm also just going to go ahead and trigger the third report that we can create, which is the qualification report. And that is actually running already, which is great. So we'll leave that to go. And let's just come back over to here. And what you'll start to see is we will start pulling out the things like the scope of work, any of the key dates that are found through the documents, any of the asks from the buyer around insurance, certifications, and also all of the submission details. So this is all just loading in now. And this is to kind of save you the time of having to sift through every single one of these documents in detail. And what we always make sure we do across all of these, each of these little numbers will take you to the exact chunk in the document where we get the information from. And these are fully shareable, so you can copy this, you can download it either as CSV, as a docx, or a PDF to share with your wider team. And we do a similar style of report for the qualification report. Now, this report aims to blend together a combination of your past content. So we've got your content library uploaded in, so that will be your past bid submissions, things like case studies, product information, and we blend that then with what is being asked for from those tender documents, and also market intelligence to start giving you an opinion on how good or bad of a fit do we think this is in a standardized format. So for this report, you're able to actually configure what are the questions that you want to be asking of a tender every time to make sure that you have a standard approach, non-biased, to decide whether or not you should be going for this bid. And again, like we do very similar every time we're referencing either back to your content library or again back to the requirements. So we can start answering the question of, can we do what the buyer is asking for? In this example, obviously, we can't confirm yes, which is to be expected. We as Stotles obviously don't do gutter cleaning services. We're a B2B SaaS company. So our content library is set up as such. And we will expect that actually, what the tender appears for the certificates and accreditations. Do we have any of those? As to be expected, no, we don't. So this is another good indicator that actually we shouldn't spend time bidding on this particular opportunity. And really, that's kind of the tool set that we provide, is to give you not only a sped up way of answering all of these questions, but a standard approach that your team can follow on a repetitive basis to make more effective bid no bid decisions. So I hope that's been a helpful insight into what we offer. And I'll be handing back over, I think, to John.
Oof, that's what gets me up in the morning. Thanks for that, Phil. Appreciate it. And now I'm going to pass it back over to Karsten to round us out and pull through some of the constant themes that make all of these features work in a secure way and a reliable way. And back over to you, Karsten.
So today we've already covered a lot of the big new things that we're bringing to market, and we're super excited about them. But that is not the complete picture. In order to provide the most seamless experience and the highest quality experience to our users, we are constantly improving smaller aspects and iterating on what we already have to make it the best possible experience. So that's everything from our data quality, making sure it's always comprehensive, it's always complete and up to date. Our infrastructure, so that you can search through those millions of data points and get great responses in milliseconds. The quality of our AI responses, it always takes more iteration, focus, and improvement to make sure that the responses are accurate, they're grounded, and they're as helpful as possible for what it is you as users are trying to get done. It's those little UI tweaks that help you navigate things more quickly and easily, whether it just be rearranging things on the nav bar to make it more discoverable, or a more holistic upgrade to our filtering, our searching, or how we present data. And last, and certainly not least, is security. We're SOC 2 certified. We take that very seriously. And so we're consistently making sure our systems are completely hardened, up to date, and avoiding any vulnerabilities or exploits. So thank you to our customers for providing all of the feedback that we use to feed into those ongoing iterations and improvements. And thank you to the team for always staying on it. It's those 1,000,001 little tweaks that bring us from being a very good platform to being an excellent platform, alongside all of the new things that we're bringing out on a monthly basis. So that's it. Let's move on to our final bit.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Car. With that, I think we're close to rounding things out, but we are going to do some Q&A. And before we do Q&A, I just wanted to mention a couple of thank yous. First, to you, everyone who joined us today. We know that you took some special time out of your day. People are busy. We just say thank you for joining. We hope you got at least one net new thing out of this that you could deploy tomorrow to be a better, faster, more productive vendor in the public sector market here in the UK. Second, to all of our Stotles engineers and presenters and product folks, thanks for jumping on the webinar today and presenting some of those new things that have come out. And then last but not least is just our customers and users. Thank you for all the feedback, all the advice, all the input, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's what makes us the best we can possibly be for you. I mentioned this to our team a lot, and they hate me for it, but it's this theory of never arriving. And so our spirit is basically, we're never done. Our mission is never done. Our product is never done. The market never stops moving. So our job is to work the hardest and push the envelope the most to be on the frontier for you. So we can't do that without you. Thank you for all the feedback along the way. And we look forward to, again, doing more of these summer releases in future years that are all an accumulation of your feedback. So with that, I think transition Q&A. Okay, cool. I actually can see some of the questions coming in. We'll transition over and do some of the Q&A here live with myself, Karsten, and then we'll wrap up from there. And again, if we don't get to your question, we will respond to all the questions after the fact today, and then also share the recording of the slides. So thanks to everyone, and let's get into those questions. All right, long time no see. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of Q&A with the time that we have left. Let me just get those up here for us, and we'll go from there. So I think the first one we saw come in that is a good one we get asked a lot is, are the contacts on Stotles GDPR compliant? Car, you're probably best positioned to answer that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So the short answer is yes, but the slightly longer answer is yes, we work with all of our data partners to ensure that the data is as accurate, fresh, compliant as possible. So that means making sure all kind of TPS screening requests are adhered to and handled by us, so you never have to think about that. And I guess maybe just one other point is a lot of the time we get the question of, are all of the contacts opt-in? The answer is no. That the reason for that is that we process on the basis of legitimate interest. So obviously all opt-outs and everything are always requested, but opt-in is not required actually. So any other questions, let us know. And you can also check out the Trust Center that we have on our website, which has a lot of other security and privacy details that you can use.
Yeah, boring, but important.
Amen.
Amen. I can answer this next one here. It's a common one we get as well, is how often does Stotles refresh its data? So really, it just depends on the data type. We have a bunch of different data types on Stotles. Some examples are like procurement data, the notices that the government publishes. Those in Stotles are refreshed as quickly as every hour. If you go into like our decision maker contacts, as Carson just mentioned, those are around every month. And then another data type like our buyer intent document data, those depend on the document type. You can imagine annual reports are published annually, so we're not refreshing those every day. Whereas meeting minutes are refreshed monthly. And we also have different varieties of ingestion methods to pull in those data types, whether APIs or scraping or bulk file ingestion. And so sometimes that method changes, but at any point on documents, the latest refresh time will be around 2 to 3 months, depending on the document. That being said, there is a resource that might be helpful if you have any questions on Stotles data as a whole. Fitting, www.stotles.com/data. It'll talk about our proprietary data pipeline, our data ingestion methods, all the data types we have. So recommend you going there if you have questions about our data. Okay, getting close on time. So let's see. MCP, there's a good one here. Is the MCP connector secure? And how do you make sure? You're the expert here.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, short answer is yes. But the more kind of expanded answer is, so a couple factors. First of all, our overall level of kind of security rigor and posture. So we're SOC 2 compliant. We spend a lot of time making sure that everything across the entire company and across the entire product is completely secure. So that's kind of like the baseline we're starting from. On the MCP side, a key factor to consider here is really this is about our customers, our users being able to access market data from us. So really the LLM is basically interacting with a very specific set of endpoints, very specific set of tools on the Stotles estate that is just returning market data. So search for cybersecurity tenders. I'm looking for air quality discussions in buyer documents. And that is the only information that is going to go from Stotles to the end user. So the overall risk profile of that type of tool is actually relatively low. So yeah, those two things combined basically leads to quite a kind of secure and reliable pattern.
There's a bunch of connecting questions here, so I'm just going to grill you here. So
yeah, of course.
Next one here is, which AI models do you use for bid, no bid qualification tool, but also probably applies to the wider AI feature set that we have. So, and then I'll give you a break and I'll answer the question on my end. But yeah, which AI models?
Sounds good. So there's not kind of like one singular answer. We are constantly evaluating different model performance from different providers for each specific use case. So basically we have evaluators where we say, okay, which model, which set of kind of prompts and tools are producing the best possible outcome. And then for each given use case, we just pick the best outcome, the model that provides the best outcome. And that's not always the same. So yeah.
What's the word? Constellation?
A constellation of models.
Okay. For all you astrologists out there. Yeah. Okay, another related question, sorry. Do you train AI models with user input or data?
Gotcha. So the answer is no. We actually don't train LLM models in-house. We use the kind of latest and greatest models in a constellation, as we've established. And yeah, no user input or output is ever used to train any models internally, externally, period.
Cool. I'll give you a break here for a second. So another one that came in that's interesting because it's related to a lot of the projects we're doing lately is, does Stotles custom build data solutions or is it an off-the-shelf SaaS solution? So the answer is both. We have our off-the-shelf SaaS solution that can be customized and personalized for users who want to log in, sign up. We have a free version, we have paid versions, kind of your typical plan-based approach. And then we also do custom solutions where we build maybe custom data pipelines that connect with CRMs or other horizontal systems. We build relevance and scoring models for people to take market data and match it to their organizational data. So there's a lot of custom builds that we do for folks using our tools, integration, data as well. But we also have the off-the-shelf solution. Let's see. Probably have time for 2 more questions. Okay, cool. What does this cost? We can spend more time on this, but we have, like I mentioned, different plans. We have a free plan. We have a basic plan that's month to month, no annual commitment. But we also have bigger plans for small and medium-sized businesses or enterprise businesses. And those are just typically based on a platform fee plus a user pricing model as well. If we're talking about specifically, if the question is talking specifically about features we talked about today, those are generally going to be included with some of those plans. So the MCP that Carson was talking about, that's included in our growth and expert plans. Decision maker contacts, those are in our growth and expert plans. And some of our existing customers will already have access to those as well. On the custom build solutions, that's more of a custom built scoped projects as well. All right. Last but not least, one for you. Can Stotles track my competitors for me? And I'm assuming, if so, how?
Yeah. All of my questions I could have just answered with yes or no. So it's
okay. Let me put it this way. Tell me how Stotles will track my competitors for me.
So yes, you can. And there's kind of, I guess, a couple of different angles there. Probably the core of this is going to be via procurement data. So being able to track, what have your competitors won is kind of going to be the obvious starting point for most people, and then getting a forward view of when those contracts are going to expire so you can make sure you start conversations early. Another kind of important element is, where are my competitors mentioned And I think that is a bit less obvious, but often very important when folks are procuring via resellers, or if there's kind of like a prime contractor, subcontractor dynamic going on. And so that's something that we also support in all of our kind of supplier searching, supplier profiles, is where they're mentioned as well. Invoice spend data is another place where you can see who your competitors are transacting with. So that's where a lot of our organization cleaning, enriching, deduplication becomes very important. So you get that singular view of an organization, whether it's a buyer, supplier, competitor, partner, et cetera.
Yeah, and I should mention as well, it happens on a push or a pull basis, right? So if you want to be notified anytime one of those are mentioned, great, you can do that. If you want to pull the information out, you could use the MCP, or you could go to that competitor's profile and see all their buyer relationships, previous contracting history, et cetera. So I think with that, that's all the time we have. There are a number of other questions as well that have come through, but what we'll do is we'll take all those questions, we'll get some answers turned around and shipped off to everyone that joined today. Again, thank you for joining. Appreciate everyone taking the time out of their busy days, and we will share this recording as well. So appreciate everyone's time, and have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.